Seems like life on the road, something is always breaking. Not only are we trying to replace the lower ball joints on our truck because they're worn out, today I was doing a basic inspection of the trailer and I found a snapped off lug nut. And not only the lug nut, the stud is snapped off. And I'm guessing it was the rough dirt roads coming in, but these tires have been on for 3,000 miles and the lug nuts have been fine, nice and tight, so I have no idea what happened, but nevertheless I don't feel comfortable driving on it with this broken lug nut, so we're going to fix that. Also, I went to use our primary jack, and our jack is broken. Oil was leaked everywhere, so we're using our secondary jack, and we're just in a bit of a pickle today. Okay.
That's a bit scary.
A little bit. Alright, so here's our broken little stud. Unfortunately, it's pressed into the brake rotor, and we got to take the brake rotor off to try to tap it out so that I can get the right one. Oh! Ah! Oh, it's not loosening it. There it is. That's what we need. So I went to the auto store, and it's not a trailer store, and we don't have a trailer store anywhere near us, but they do have lug nuts, obviously, or lug studs for cars. I got one that was as close as possible. For some weird reason, this does not thread all the way on. It stops right there, and I have no idea why, so I'm probably going to have to cut this down so that we can actually get it tight enough to hold the wheel on.
Not that close to the truck.
Well, our previous bolt didn't work, so we went out, we were able to find one that was a little bit bigger, but it was way too long. So we just cut this one down, like we did the other one, and hopefully it'll tap in there nice and tight. Nice and tight. There we go.
Went on. Yeehaw!
You hit trailers. That was the place I was going to stop. Today we're doing a little work on our truck. We've got some worn out parts. The lower control arm ball joints are rattling. Our steering is a little bit loose because our tie rods are worn out. And while we're at it, we're going to do some brake pads as well. So I got a whole new lower control arm that we're going to put on the truck. Also got some inner and outer tie rods, and of course brake pads. So I guess I wouldn't say that it's broken because these things just naturally wear out, but anyway, we're going to get them replaced and get her driving down the road better again. So let's get to it. So the first thing we're going to do is take the sway bar off, which prevents the car from rolling. We're going to do that while the wheels are on the ground so that there's not as much pressure on it side to side. Okay, we got the sway bar disconnected. Now we're going to zip the tires off. We got her jacked up, and we're going to drop the shock out of it so that we can start taking apart all the linkages. We're going to take the caliper off this sucker. So we take the brakes apart and we're going to hang it up here. We are attempting to break the lower ball joint right now, which is this sucker right here. And it's being very stubborn. A lot of times you can just take the nut partially off and strike this like that right there pretty hard and get her to break down. She should just fall down to here, but that's not happening. Alright, we applied a whole bunch of heat and got the ball joint to break loose. Look how loose that thing is. It's just totally shot. It's supposed to be tight, like not be able to move. And it moves up and down too. Anyway, that's what we're fixing. So we were able to break her loose. We got everything taken apart. Now we just have to take apart this giant bolt here and one more over here, and the whole A arm will come out. She's all apart and will officially not drive down the road right now. We got her all loosened up. I marked the existing alignment on the caster bolts because they're round bolts that slide back and forth. Here, I'll show you. This is a this is the caster bolt that holds it on, and this sits inside two brackets on this side, and see how this, if this spins side to side, it'll move the bolt in there back and forth, and that's how they adjust alignments on cars. So I marked those ahead of time, so we should have them approximately the same when we put it back in. Dropped it down, spring came out, everything's just hanging loose here, and now we just put the new one back on, and then we'll replace the tie rods because they're loose as can be too. Alright, here's our new control arm assembly. We had to install the rubber bumper into this one. We put the sway bar end link in this one already because it was pretty tight. And then we just set the spring in there to show how it sits in there. But this one's got the new bushings and the new ball joint. So let's put it back together. So we've run into a problem. These bolts, or the original OEM bolts, are too big for the new bushings, and we've called around and we can't seem to find the right size bolts to go in with that control arm. I could get new control arms, but it'll be a couple more days, so we're going to attempt to grind these down. The truck does not actually hinge on this. This bolt squeezes the whole thing together, and the truck actually hinges on the rubber bushing, so I'm not concerned about like wearing this bolt out or anything, and I don't think that it's going to destroy the integrity of it by grinding it down, but we're going to try to make it work. We got the bolts back together and put in. Now we're just going to start reassembling it. Once we get it back on the lower ball nut, we'll attempt an alignment. We got this new control arm back in, and it did align pretty well. We had to use the big jack to push up on it so that we could get the knuckle to slip into the new ball joint, and then we were able to lower it and tighten the ball joint at the same time. So she's all back together, and of course it still doesn't have any steering. So next is we're going to replace this. This is extremely loose, so these need to be replaced so that we have tighter steering as well. I'm trying to slide the boot off this here so I can... Oh, it's not sliding off. Why not? Why aren't you sliding off? There it is, the old worn out joint. Now we got to get a giant wrench on there. There it is. Alright, now we're trying to get this off so that we can count the number. Normally I just leave it together, but we need to count the number of threads in on this so that we know how many to go in on the new assembly. Finally got that off. Now I'm going to put a vice grip onto this here so I can twist off the end. Take this off. Alright, so primarily, I mean, this outer one was really loose. It's not gone, but it's really flopping around a lot, so there's not much. They're probably about to go, but this inner tie rod is just floppy, and the ball actually moves back and forth. The new one, I can't even get to move, really stiff. So our whole steering will be tightened up real nice with these new parts.
19,
20. It was 20, right?
No, it was 24.
21,
22, 23.
Here all night.
Yeah, you know, might as well turn the lights on. I'm gonna get this side done at least. Put it back on the ground. So these are the tie ends, the tie rod ends, and this one is the new one. This one's the old one. You can see here this is a grease joint, grease zerk. You'll put a zerk in there when I'm done with it, and this one does not have one because this is a non-serviceable one. And the factories normally come this way because they don't expect that people actually grease their cars anymore, which a lot of people don't. But having a zerk is a really nice thing because although it takes a little more maintenance, you can actually keep them from failing a lot of times by keeping grease in them. So I put greased and tie rod ends and greased ball joints in this truck, so hopefully it'll last for the rest of the time that we own it. Come on. Now we're working on our brakes. We've got our new pads all set up on here. They're looking good. Right now I have to compress these are the cylinders that actually stop the truck. And I got to compress them because the old brakes had worn all the way out, so they pushed out, pressing them, get it back on the new brakes. One down, one to go.
That only took all day.
Yeah, it did.
How long is the other one gonna take?
1 hour.
Yeah.
Minus all the grinding, so 4.5.
You're experienced now, though.
Yeah. Oh, good morning. Second day at this, and I think we know what we're doing. It's just gonna take some time and effort. Got her all back together. Now we're just gonna grease up the new Zerks and should be good to drive. Well, drive to an alignment shop.
You are so greasy.
Yeah, well.
Alright, so it's our last day in Kalispell. We've been here about a week getting the work on the truck done. And we should be good. We got it aligned yesterday and everything seems to be in working order. So we're on our way now to Washington.
This truck is driving so much better. No more wandering. I can pretty much just let go of the wheel and she just goes straight.